This is Susan. Today, Alex is with me. We are doing news and commentary on 9/11. The video from YouTube we're reviewing will be linked in the comments below. Alex and I reviewed images from this video that surprisingly showed a gorgeous and beautiful celestial light shining through in the destruction. And without further ado, let me open the floor to Alex. Would you like to share your story?
Yes. Thank you, Susan. Susan and I are both intuitives, and she and I have been processing. She's been helping me process my 9/11 experiences because my husband was downtown at the time of the event. And in our community, we lost 22 parents in the school and more in our parish. And so it's left a very deep and real psychic hole within our community that most people who don't live here would not really be able to understand how very real and present it is. And every year it comes up again. And I've been so grateful to Susan to be able to assist me in my processing. And we've come to a place, I think, where for the first time ever, we actually spoke on 9/11. And in the morning, I discovered a video that I had never seen before from the Hudson River side of the event, from one of the ferry boats that actually ended up assisting, I think it was something like 500,000 people to evacuate. And as I watched the video, I had such a tremendous visceral and intuitive response to it. And as soon as Susan and I started watching it together, we saw something so miraculous and different than we had ever seen before. And so that's what we're going to share with you now. And I still, at this moment, I'm in such awe of what we were able to capture in the pictures, because Susan's so good at finding things as we intuitively see them together.
Well, Alex, it's been my honor to work with you and talk with you about this event over the years.
Yeah, it is absolutely a gift from God. So I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, for me too. And to be of service in that way has been a joy for me to do that with you. I'm very passionate about this event, as many of us are. So let's take a look at the photographs that we saw. One of the things that's different here is that we are used to looking at light, and I'm used to finding light in photographs. And so that's always been my focus. And Alex is so good at sharing from the heart and at her intuitive skills. So we make a good team looking at these things together.
Yeah. And I feel things that maybe my eyes don't necessarily see, but they register, in my heart space intuitively. And so, yeah, together, sometimes we do some amazing detective work, as I would call it.
So the images that we're going to play a couple of short shots from the video later, but the images that we're going to look at, this is on 9/11, and in the video, the first tower has already fallen, the South Tower. So we're looking at the North Tower here, and it's obviously been hit and is just about to fall.
Yeah, and then this first shot, I saw an angel, and Susan saw a dragon, and it was almost as if it was a battle. And Susan talks so eloquently about dark to light. I'll let you do that.
Yeah, that's what I see in this. It was amazing looking at this image of, I'm using the cursor here to point it out. It almost looks like a huge dragon trying to take a chunk out of the top of this building. And here's its fiery red eye. And here it is reaching down in its big mouth, just chomping around this dragon. This dragon is chomping around the building. Now here you have the light coming in from the sun, bringing in these. In my view, these colors are comforting, and I believe that they're celestial, and therefore all people have access to this light, whether they can see it or not. Now, here down here in the white light looked like an angel pointing with his arm out. It reminded me of those images of Archangel Michael where he's pointing.
Yeah.
And here's the head.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the body. It's almost also like a big wing and pointing in this direction, standing literally hugging just right next to that building.
Yeah. I mean, you also see some images of Jesus in that position with his hands out, showing his wounds on his palm. So it just feels very celestial and supportive. And at this point, I'll share a very brief anecdote from our parish priest who was grounded in another city on 9/11 and returned in one of the first planes that was able to come back. I think it was 5 days later. And he said as he was flying over, it was dark out and the smoke was still rising because the fires burned for pretty much 3 weeks. And as he, observed the smoke, and he felt a vision come on of all the souls from the two towers rising from the ashes and being accepted into the heavenly host with angels, attending each spirit. And he felt so comforted by that. And that story comforted many people as we went through funeral after funeral for our friends. And so to see this in actual visual representation of exactly what he was talking about, it was very profoundly moving for me.
That is beautiful. I know that many of us around the country who weren't there prayed that the light be present and that all those souls be comforted that were in the buildings. And of course, the people in the city, experiencing that disaster and running from the buildings. All of us prayed for that. And to see a picture that embodies both the battle of dark and light and the comfort that there were angels there is just beautiful.
Yeah. Now, this is a very interesting shot because we'll show you a brief section of the video. But this is an actual response, an energetic, celestial response to a man invoking the name of God. He says, "Oh my God," and immediately there is a flash of this rainbow that comes down, and it just brought tears to my eyes. It sprang forth from my body to see an actual response to prayer and an invocation of God. It's a miracle. And here we see the celestial rays coming down, sun rays, very, very, very powerful moment right before the tower falls.
To me, this speaks to that the light is always there for us, even when we can't see it, even when the sky is covered with black smoke. That light is there shining through, and it can reach our heart.
Yes. This was a very interesting shot because as soon as the tower started to fall, we noticed that the second tower was representative in a 3D, almost etheric way, or almost like a light body behind the falling tower. And it felt as if this was a representation of the tower itself in the celestial realm. And it was extremely powerful to see because you can see, Susan, you have the cursor below it, but you can see the 3D edges of the building. And just blew my mind to see that.
This is the location of the South Tower. This is the North Tower, just as it's starting to fall. And you see here, it's like the South Tower, which has already fallen, is now represented in light in the photo, like it has ascended. It's being held in a celestial light, as are the souls and all the people.
Yes.
Is how I would interpret that. And it's interesting because there's even a line here, as Alex mentioned. It's like it's 3D, so that would be the other. This would be the other side of the building on this edge here.
Yes. And this one is almost like you're looking at a time warp, because you can see a representation and energy of the building that's falling. Either it's being pushed forward in time or back. I mean, I don't know the details of that, but you can see again a representation not of the South Tower, but of the North Tower itself in its bigger, almost ascended form, Susan, I would say.
Yes, I mean, if you look here, you've got a rectangle of light, and I'd say that at this kind of historic moment in time, you have a focus of light at this location. You had the world. I mean, globally, you had a focus of light. And it's almost like you could see through the dimensions here. Again, here's sort of the edge of the building, and it's bigger. It's more expanded. It's like we're looking into an expanded dimension at the tower in energy, in bathed in light.
Yes, and what's interesting is, in my understanding, the Father God aspect is pure potential, and the Mother God aspect is creation in the physical realm. So here we're watching something being removed, something very large, and with a lot of energetic focus from the actual physical realm. So the representation and energy is still there at that moment. So it is almost as if the veils have been lifted, and we're watching this shift from physicality to disembodiment and pure positive energy in this moment.
And it's amazing that the 9/11 memorial part of it ended up being two humongous rays of light.
Yes.
And it was amazing when Alex and I looked at this photo that was present on that day. These towers in energy that you could see it in these photos. It's phenomenal. And it's as if the people could perceive that, because that is what was created as part of the memorial, the two huge beams of light that reach up towards the sky and towards the heavens.
Yes. And one thing I want to note here, these are screen grabs from a video. They have not been retouched in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
All right, this is right at the moment that the tower begins to fall significantly. And what is interesting is the first rainbow that comes down after the invocation of the name of God is a real rainbow with a full spectrum. We're noting in this one that it's almost as if two very strong energies are coming down, a red energy and a green energy, and they are literally holding the tower as it falls straight down.
Yes, and it looks like literally a pathway to heaven. I mean, a staircase to heaven there.
Yes.
That the colored rays go straight up to the sun, representing heaven, God, the divine.
Yeah.
It was amazing to me how they extend sort of the whole length of the building, from the top here at the roof and then down on the side.
But if you notice, it ends at the edge of the building, so it is literally encasing the building in celestial energy.
Isn't that amazing?
Divine energy.
Okay, so Alex, now we're going to switch to as the building is falling and there's a huge dust cloud, rubble cloud.
Yeah, and this one, what was interesting to me is an energy was coming down straight over the event, and it was pulsing in these various lights. Now, Susan and I are very close to a number of archangels in our practice, and archangels are represented sometimes by a specific color or a ray, we would call it. So this one here is a very brilliant yellowish gold. Which could be Gabrielle, but the green specifically, one of the archangels that I'm very close to is Raphael, and his energy is the healing energy of green, which is all about health and healing. And that was the beginning of this implosion of the building, was a flash of this green healing light.
Yes. Yes, Archangel Raphael's color is green, Archangel Gabriel gold. Now, people may vary in how they see these colors, but also known as Saint Raphael or Saint Gabriel.
Now, in this next one, and I'm going to let Susan speak about the images that are forming, but we see this beautiful heart-centered rose, which to me represents the energy of the Divine Mother, who welcomes all beings into her lap, and she's what we are created from and what we return to when we return to pure potential in the heavenly realm. And then there is also another color, which is very close to Susan and I, which is represented by the Ascended Master, Saint Germain, and Susan can speak much more eloquently on that energy than I do.
Well, Saint Germain, his technique of healing is to use the violet flame. And so there is a violet hue in here, and the combination of the brilliant pink, magenta, and the blue. And the violet flame of Saint Germain transmutes negative energy. And so it's obviously very appropriate at this scene. That is a technique that any of us can request assistance. We can request the violet flame to transmute negativity for ourselves, for anyone else, for the world. This blue here is the color of Archangel Michael or Saint Michael. And Archangel Michael is the protector, the divine protector, the guardian of souls.
Yes. And then the next, here we notice, and Susan, speak on this because you're the one who noticed this first, the image in the cloud.
Pardon. I need to have this part. Hold on.
God bless you.
This image with again, now you've really got the purple of Saint Germain and the brilliant blue of Archangel Michael shining into where the towers were. Reminds me of Psalm 23. What I noticed here was this amazing looking, it looks like a figure, and I know other people have seen figures in the smoke of 9/11, but I see this as a figure of death. I see hair here. It almost looks like a woman's face or a skeleton face. Here,
skeleton face, yeah.
Skeleton. Here's a nose, two eyes, and a mouth. That's what I see. And then a long, tall body walking through the canyon, essentially, or the valley between these two buildings, as walking out of the rubble of the towers. Well, Psalm 23 says, "Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil." And here you have Archangel Michael protecting the souls as this great evil act is done, and Saint Germain with the violet energy transmuting dark to light.
Yes.
Psalm 23 also says, "Thou art with me, thy sword and thy staff they comfort me."
And Archangel Michael in representations is seen with the sword of truth and the shield of protection. And so it's very relevant. And here we see in the next picture, a very strong representation of the cobalt blue color that is to us an absolute sign of Archangel Michael on Earth.
Yes.
Now, this is a very interesting shot because Archangel Michael, as I just said, is representing holding a sword. And this shot, which you do not see in other angles of the falling of this tower, is the actual antenna from the top of the building, which is falling almost exactly straight down. It has not fallen over. And it immediately shocked my heart to see the sword of Archangel Michael being placed into that hallowed ground, that sacred ground where thousands of people gave their lives. And it is, to me, it is an act of defiance against the dark, and that this is hallowed ground, and we claim it for the celestial realms and for the realms of light.
Archangel Michael, one of the ways that in energy that I have seen him work many times, when he claims the earth for the divine, for God, and when he claims dominion over the dark forces and slays them, I will see him take his sword of light and his actual sword and go straight into the ground, and he will put that sword straight into the ground.
He lifts it above his head in front of his body and then penetrates the ground with it.
And buries it deeply into the ground. And when he buries it deeply into the ground, he sends a pulse of divine energy with that. And that divine energy that he sends clears the darkness.
Yes.
No darkness can stand before his sword of light.
Yes. In the next picture, we also have a moment of invocation, and the invocation is the name of the Mother of God. And what's interesting about this is that, as we will show you in the video, it unfolds not as a rainbow, but it unfolds in specific pulses and rays of light. The first was red, then green, and then finally a rainbow appears. Now, Susan and I have also been doing work with rainbows in other areas, and you never see a separated spectrum. You always see, even if you maybe can't see it because it's on the edge of a cloud, the full spectral light. So when I watched this and saw these bolts of energetic light, rays that matched the same color as the rays that held the building as it fell, again, my heart exploded with tears of joy and gratitude that all these beings were supported as they entered the heavenly realms.
They were supported spiritually.
Yes.
And so here you have the purple, and Alex, you're better at the rainbow colors than me, but you've got the
purple, green. It's Roy G. Biv, but anyway, we call that an appropriate rainbow spectrum. We have occasionally seen an inappropriate one, but that is the representation of color, spectral color. And what's interesting about that day as well is that it was a crystal clear fall day, low humidity. There was not a lot of not a lot of humidity, not a lot of water vapor in the sky. So I was actually surprised to see rainbows in this experience.
This, if you don't mind me talking about this, Alex, this image or this activity reminds me of a dream that I had before 9/11, and one that completely changed my life, because I was in finance and I would go to New York City to work fairly frequently. And in this dream that I had one night before 9/11, I was in New York City. The city had been attacked. Building pieces were falling. There was a great amount of disarray, stuff in the air, and I had two or three team members with me, and I had found a phone. I was down under a building. I found a phone, and I was trying to desperately call. It was a landline. I was trying to desperately find the people on my team, see if they were safe, and how we could get them to safety, how we could how we could be safe in this situation. And after I had that dream, I ended up diminishing my travel to New York and then leaving the industry, because I had opportunities that I turned down because of that dream. And
absolutely. And many people, have had prophetic dreams or feelings about 9/11. I actually dreamt the night before, and I won't give all the details of the dream, where I spoke to my own family doctor in a cafeteria, and I asked him to come and help, and he said they told us to wait here because the wounded will be coming, but no one ever came. Well, the day after the event, we had a memorial at our church, and I found my doctor, and I asked him, did he go? And he said, yes, we went to St. Vincent's. They held us in a cafeteria for the wounded to come, and no one came. So
that's amazing.
The universe speaks to us. It speaks to us, and I will always listen, and so does Susan.
I feel that we are spiritually guided by these dreams. And they contain some pretty amazing messages. After the fact is when we really get to see how the pieces fit together. So there were some amazing, you talked about your doctor. There were amazing everyday heroes that day. Obviously, the first responders went above and beyond.
Yes. And they went into those buildings, most likely knowing after the first tower fell that they were going to give up their lives in order to save people. But that's how they are. They are trained to do that, and they know that that's their training. What I always find interesting and always there is the angels on earth sent to help each other. And Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, said, asking how to speak to children about 9/11, and he said when he was a little boy and he was frightened of something he saw on television, his mother said, look for the helpers, because there always are helpers. And we noticed in this video, everyday people putting themselves into service in order to assist those who didn't have anybody to help them because the system was overwhelmed. The emergency system was overwhelmed. And so, like always, and I'm from New York, every New Yorker will help every other New Yorker in need. And it is absolutely part of our human makeup to be angels for each other here on earth. And so we notice that, and we honor those people who did assist, and the calm way that people helped each other and evacuated and shared their experiences after the fact as well. It was a beautiful thing.
That was something that amazed me. The day after 9/11, I went and bought, and in the days after 9/11, I went and bought every magazine that I could, and I still have those. And looking through them, the heroism of the first responders just my heart just swells at that. And the other thing that struck me was the everyday people obviously being good to each other, helping each other in a moment of terror like this. That people treated each other this way is so beautiful. We'll show a short clip from the video of this, but you have people. These are people, men manning their station. These guys aren't trying to flee the city. They just had that huge dust cloud go over them from the buildings, and they're manning their posts and helping people leave.
Yeah, and I will also note that New York City was on lockdown, and that meant that no subways were running, no trains were going in and out of the city. All bridges were closed to traffic in and out. The only way out was to walk over a bridge onto Long Island or to take one of these ferries. And I have friends who literally jumped off the edge of the Battery onto one of these boats. And I have a husband who walked over a bridge. And churches were open so people could use landlines to call their relatives who had no idea what was going on. And bars were open, giving out water, giving out sandwiches, not asking for any money. It was all an amazing, just mind-blowing. I have such gratitude for the people who helped those who were struggling to get out, all covered in white dust, walking like ghosts out of the city. It's still moving to me to this day. I mean, sorry, I'm crying.
Feel your feelings, Alex.
Yes.
You and all of us feel your feelings, and I have just a tremendous amount of love that I'm just pouring out now in my heart to you and to anyone watching.
And to everyone who suffers through, tremendous shock and loss.
Yes.
There is access to celestial comfort. There is access to human comfort. Sometimes we just have to ask for it, and it's there. And as we noticed, that two men, invoking the name of God and the Divine Mother, and immediately there's a response. Immediately, it was not even a second later. We look to the sky for signs. It's just so powerful. So,
should we look at the video? Should we just spend a few minutes here on the video?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So the first thing we're going to look at is where the man invokes God's name. He invokes God and a beam of light.
Yeah. So you pull it up. Did you see that? Oh my God. And not a second later, the rainbow comes down.
It's just so amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, in this scene, the light flashes as the building falls, and you do see this sort of almost a heavenly light shining through.
And I just want to be clear here. It was difficult for Susan and I to watch these videos at first, but we've watched them over and over again, and we don't want to discount our feelings of shock and sadness that occurred the first time we watched these videos. And so for us to find and see actual representations of celestial assistance had such a profound effect on us, because there was so much sadness and so much despair, and to see the
helping hand of God.
The helping hand of God just blew our minds and blew our hearts wide open. Every hair on our body stood up. My heart is so wide open. You literally almost feels painful in your chest, and tears just pouring forth the first time we experienced this together. So if we sound a little detached from the images, it's only because we're trying to show you what we saw, and we hope that you do go and look at it and feel those feelings that we felt, because it is literally, and I'm calling it, it's a miracle. This is the actual proof of a miracle. Not that we need proof, because miracles are things that happen and we don't know how or why. That's why it's a miracle. We don't know how or why, but we're watching it unfold, and that is so powerful.
Alex and I have spent much time on 9/11 in the past, or around 9/11, watching videos, tears, praying, bringing light, praying, doing a spiritual practice. And it was wonderful after all of those very heavy experiences to then this year on 9/11 see the light that was present visually, like really right there in a picture, see the light.
And what was also interesting is that this was an angle that had never been seen before. It was posted, I think, exactly 10 years after the event. And it's not lost on me, the idea that it's from a different angle and we're being invited to look at it in a different way. 180-degree difference, dark versus light. I mean, there are no coincidences in these things. So every sign and every indicator is meant to open your eyes.
That's beautiful, Alex. Okay, let's listen to this. So let's just go over it slowly. There you have the golden light. I'm talking about the upper right-hand corner. You have the sunbeam in the front. That's that angled light.
Yes.
Now it's changing to gold and green. Now you have a green ray coming down and blue. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, each time we see it, we see a more rich representation. And I think part of that is the two of us looking at it together and focusing our love and energy and being able to share this with you and hopefully bring some peace to your heart around the event. But yeah, I mean, here we have a beautiful representation of that. Well, it is what it is. It's unfolding before our very eyes.
You know, I was actually seeing in the blue part, I was seeing a figure. Like, you know, we've been talking about Archangel Michael. I saw, you know, the head of a figure there for a moment.
And as you watch this, you may see more than we do. You know,
Yeah.
You may see something a little bit different. But this is an in-your-face flashes of color that I've never seen before in my life.
In this clip, you'll hear the man call for. He calls out "Mother of God," and you'll see a flash of light.
Mother of God. There it is. And if you notice, it is spiraling down. You see you see first the green, or first the red, then the green ray comes in, and then the normal rainbow spectrum. So it is a flashing, and then a constant. Mother of God.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I almost see, do you see this? I see an eye and the side of a face here.
Yeah.
Like an angelic face. Oh, okay. Now let's do the helpers, Alex.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Come
awesome.
on! I want you to hold my hand. Come on board. Get inside. Everybody else, come on. Let's go. Hold my hand. Get in. One at a time. Okay, get in. Inside. Back inside. You coming?
You know, this is, we tend to be self-critical a lot in this country, but this is who we are, people helping people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's men standing at their stations in an honorable way, doing a job at the ferry dock. But the person who is asking people to hold their hand is not a ferry boat captain. Those are private vessels, just like who came at Dunkirk to save soldiers. Private vessels came from New Jersey over and saved. Think about that. Think about 500,000 people evacuated from Manhattan by private boats and by ferry boats. And it just blows your mind how much people gave of themselves for their brothers and sisters to bring them comfort. And it reminds me of that line, you know, that is from, you know, Jesus. Whatsoever you do for the least of my brother, that you do for me. And this is what we are here in America. We will help people because they need us, not for any other reason other than they ask us to be angels here on earth for each other.
Amen to that, Alex.
All right, so we should wrap it up.
How do you want to wrap it up?
All right. I just want to say that I can't believe that Susan and I were supposed to have a meeting, and she intuitively knew that I needed more time. So she canceled our meeting for an hour and a half. And then I came down and I turned on my computer, and on my Skype feed was this video. And then all of a sudden my Skype feed changed and I didn't see the video anymore. But I was like, you know what? I really need to see that. And I went to YouTube and I found it. Had not all the little cogs turned into place at the very right time, we wouldn't be sitting here with you today and sharing this representation of a miracle that unfolded on that day before our very eyes. And it is always amazing to me how the universe can twist itself inside out and backwards in order to deliver to us the messages that we need to hear. And I absolutely needed to hear and to see this on this day. It's brought me more healing than I could ever have hoped for. And I thank the universe. I thank God and the celestial realm and all the archangels and all the angels and all the human angels for bringing this healing to me. And I hope that anybody who sees this, who knows of anybody who could use a little healing around any disastrous event or 9/11 would please, you know, get it into their hands, because it feels very profound to me, and I know you feel the same way, Susan.
Thank you, Alex. And thank you with deep respect and gratitude for sharing your personal stories here today.
Thank you.